I started contra dancing in Chicago. It was mostly old time music, and I wanted to be a caller, but believe it or not, I was too shy. Then I moved to Rhode Island, and I joined a Morris team because I had started Morris dancing in Chicago. And I was given a gift I'm so grateful for, and I realized this is a once-in-a-lifetime gift. I was on a Morris team, a women's clog Morris, and you have to have a big oompa band, and we did have one. And I was actually teaching the beginners how to dance. And the band came up to me and said, "We'd like to start a series in South Kingston, Rhode Island. We need a caller who will share the money equally," because back in those days, the caller was paid $100, and the band had to split $100 among them. And they said, if we're going to start a series, we're going to share equally. So I was asked to be their caller based on how I taught Morris. My first dance calling was at my own series. And it was wonderful. And I learned quickly what was great. My friends were my allies. At first, I was upset that they were giving me feedback. And then I realized, Lisa, this is fabulous. They're telling you how to become a better caller. So, and I became known as the caller who shares equally, which helped me get gigs with other newer bands. And then I moved to Boston, and Larry Jennings heard me call. I was invited to call at the Tuesday night YWCA dance. Larry Jennings came, and he came up and he said, "I think you have promise, but you need some help." And I clicked with him. I enjoyed dancing with him. I like being around smart people. He's very smart, very mathematical, and he became my mentor and taught me how to look at dances, how to look at the geography of a dance, how to look at the math of a dance. He had me diagramming dances. That was fabulous. I learned so much from him. And then we talked a lot about language, which really is my major interest, is how do you get people to move in with the most concise language and the most effectively. I went to the dance every Thursday night, so quite often I would talk to him at the break and he would tell me his ideas of what was happening that night with another caller. And we would talk about the dance just briefly. And from there, then he said, "Why don't you come over to my house?" And that's where I learned how to diagram the dance. And that's where he gave me the original transcripts to Zesty Contras, the huge lectures, and I got involved with doing his workshops, his discussion sessions at NEFA, which he then transcribed. Involved only in that he would talk to me about them ahead of time, and I would go, so I would learn from that. So I'd have sessions at his house, and then of course I would call, and I learned, he'd come up at the break, and he'd say, "Well, you know, when you called that do-si-do, you were late." And I thought, And I learned to say, "Larry, could you give me your comments at the end of the evening?" Fine. At the end of the evening, the list was longer. "Well, did you know?" And I finally learned to say, "Larry, could you write it in a letter?" Because I understood, which is great for me now as a mentor, when you've finished calling a dance, you want the accolades, you want the relief, you want the friendliness. And that worked for us. So he would write me a long letter, and then I might talk to him on the phone. We talked on the phone a lot. Or I might go over to his house and go over the program. Because Larry took the time to write these letters, I knew he really wanted to help me. But it's helped me understand how to be a mentor, because like you, that one word of encouragement to start with makes me want to listen to the rest. So he was a mentor in ways he didn't even know.